war for the internet has begun.
If you've been on the internet long enough to remember LimeWire viruses, MSN statuses, and downloading a movie that turned out to be a Romanian cam rip of Shrek, then you already lived through the era of MegaUpload, one of the largest, loudest, and most chaotic pirate kingdoms ever built. And behind that kingdom was a guy who, frankly, looked like he'd been generated by a 2000 supervillain AI prompt. Kim Dotcom. A man so gigantic in ego, body, and ambition that he literally changed his last name to .com because why not? If you ever wondered what happens when a bullied kid with a Commodore 16 grows up with unlimited money and zero restraint, this is the story. Spoiler, helicopters will be involved. Also, predator statues. Also, lawsuits worth more than the GDP of certain countries. But we'll get there. First, the childhood. It sucks. Kim Schmitz is born in 1974 in Kiel, Germany, in a family where the default settings are violent alcoholic father and depressed mother. At school, things aren't better. He's bullied, mocked for his size, rejected by pretty much everyone. The classic supervillain origin story, basically. The only plot twist is that his mom, at some point, gives him a Commodore 16, and that tiny plastic machine becomes his refuge, his obsession, and his first real source of power. He tears it apart mentally, studying every part of how it works, until he's convinced his brain was designed exclusively for this. Pretty soon, teenage Kim starts selling cracked games in the schoolyard. And suddenly, the kid nobody liked becomes the kid who gives you free entertainment. Respect through piracy. It begins early. He discovers BBS networks, a kind of prehistoric internet running through phone lines, meets other nerds like him, and realizes he can turn this into something bigger. By 16, he drops out of school and moves to Berlin, aiming not for college, not for a job, but for the Chaos Computer Club, the most legendary hacker collective in Europe. He dreams of joining them. He fails, spectacularly. The CCC guys call him a script kiddie. He's good with computers, but not hacker good. Not like the people who write their own code while drinking Club Mate at 3 a.m. Kim is more like the guy who copies homework and says he did it for science. But he has a social talent that many hackers do not. He can gather people. He can build a crew. He can turn a bunch of misfits into a small-scale cybercrime startup. So he creates DAP, a hacking group whose main business model consists of stealing PBX telephone codes from American companies. Essentially, free phone credit. With these codes, you could call anywhere in the world at someone else's expense. Perfect for hackers. Kim sells each code for $200, and they sell like fresh, hot malware. He then sets up premium hotlines in Hong Kong and the Caribbean and uses the stolen codes to call his own hotlines on loop. Money printer go brr. It's stupid, shady, brilliant, and unsurprisingly successful. He becomes well known in the Berlin hacker scene. Not because he's technically gifted, he isn't, but because he's loud, bold, charismatic, and loves journalists more than oxygen. In 1992, Forbes publishes an article about hacking. Among the interviewed people is Kimble, Kim's new persona, talking openly about his crimes because German cybercrime laws are still in the "we don't know what hacking is, but please stop doing it" phase. This also means journalists are clueless. So when Kim claims he hacked the Pentagon or is spying on Saddam Hussein's palace via satellite, they print it. Why wouldn't they? Reality is flexible in the early 90s. But bragging has consequences. In 1994, German police raid his home, seize tens of thousands of euros worth of equipment, and drag him to court. He's charged with 11 counts of computer fraud, 10 intrusions close to espionage, plus the giant telephone scam. But since he was a minor when he did most of it, and the law has never dealt with anything like this before, he gets 2 years of probation. That's it. It's the hacker equivalent of go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. And Kim? He interprets this not as a warning, but as a green light from the universe. Right after this little wrist slap, he goes corporate. He creates Data Protect, a cybersecurity company where the business model is basically, we hack you, then you pay us to tell you how we did it. And it works! Lufthansa, Vodafone, even the German stock exchange allegedly hire him. His reputation grows, the money pours in, and Kim begins doing what Kim does best, showing off. He buys 14 sports cars. He films himself in flash animations where he shoots up Bill Gates' house. he invents the Megacar, a customized Mercedes filled with modems and onboard computers. Basically Knight Rider if Knight Rider was designed by a 12-year-old playing Need for Speed. Price tag, $90,000. Market demand, 0. But Kim loves the aesthetic of a cartoon villain, so he doubles down. A German conglomerate buys 80% of Data Protect, making Kim rich, and he responds by producing Kimble Goes to Monaco, a mini-movie where he parties in Monaco, rides in helicopters, and shows off yachts bigger than some European villages. The narrator even says, "This is the largest private yacht in the world. Only Kim's ego is bigger." Hard to argue. By 2001, he's addicted to media attention. So when a journalist asks him what he's up to, he casually drops claims like, "I hacked Citibank and donated the money to Greenpeace." Greenpeace denies it instantly. Or, "I'm smarter than Bill Gates." He believes it too. And then comes the stock market stunt. The one that screams, "I am either a genius or a criminal or both." Kim buys 2 million shares of a failing online retailer named Let's Buy It for 375,000 euros, announces he's going to invest 50 million euros to save it, and watches the stock explode by 220%. When the price peaks, he sells everything and walks away with 1.5 million euros. A pure pump and dump. Illegal, obvious, elegant in its stupidity. Police begin investigating discreetly. Meanwhile, Data Protect collapses, proving that Kim's success owes more to vibes than management skills. Kim doesn't care. He flies to Thailand, gets arrested, gets deported back to Germany, spends 5 months in prison, and receives a suspended sentence and a 100,000 euro fine, meaning he still profits from his scam after paying punishment. Truly, the man is accidentally good at crime. So he moves to Hong Kong. Reinvents himself again, launches Trendax, a company claiming it uses AI to generate 25% annual returns in the stock market, in 2003, and asks investors for $50,000 minimum. The company isn't even registered with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Meanwhile, Kim is filming jackass-style antics in the streets of Hong Kong. Investor confidence does not skyrocket. But then comes 2005, and everything levels up. Kim rebrands Data Protect into MegaUpload, legally changes his name to Kim Dotcom, and unknowingly sets up one of the most important websites in internet history. By 2005, Kim Dotcom has already lived the kind of life most people would need 6 reincarnations to cram in. Teenage hacker, media clown, corporate security consultant, stock market manipulator, and temporary prisoner. But none of those identities matter anymore, because he's about to create the one thing that will define him forever. The one thing that will put him on the map, on trial, and eventually on the radar of every government agency from Wellington to Washington. MegaUpload. It begins with something stupidly simple. Kim is annoyed that email attachments refuse to accept large files. Instead of compressing them like a normal person, he decides the only rational solution is to build a global file-sharing empire. He takes his company, Data Protect 2.0, scrapes off the old skin, gives it a new face, and calls it MegaUpload. Around the same time, he legally changes his surname to .com, because for him, the line between branding and identity dissolved long ago. MegaUpload itself is a beautifully dumb idea. You upload a file, the website gives you a link, you send the link, and your friend opens it. That's it. But in 2005, this is sorcery. Cloud storage isn't mainstream. Gmail has barely launched. Sending more than a couple of megabytes feels like pushing a car uphill. Meanwhile, MegaUpload hands out more than 200 gigabytes of free space, like Oprah giving away cars. The internet looks at this and collectively says, why the hell not? People start using it to send family videos, photos, ZIP archives, and work documents. Then something extremely predictable happens. Someone uploads a movie. Then someone else uploads another. Then entire communities start uploading full libraries. And suddenly, MegaUpload isn't just convenient, it becomes the biggest, fastest, most reliable piracy factory the world has ever seen. This is where the cultural shift becomes massive. Before this, piracy was the Wild West of Emule, LimeWire, and shady Russian torrent sites where half the downloads were viruses pretending to be music videos. MegaUpload replaces that chaos with stability. If a movie exists, there's a MegaUpload link for it. If it doesn't exist yet, give it 6 hours. And the genius, or madness, depending on perspective, is that MegaUpload doesn't simply host pirate content. It rewards the people who upload it. Suddenly, piracy becomes a job market. Someone out there uploads nearly 6,000 Vietnamese files, a handful of DVDs, and a random Italian TV series, and walks away with $55,000 in reward money. News spreads through forums like lighter fluid on a bonfire. Everyone wants in. Uploaders flock in from every corner of the internet and build a global shadow distribution network powered entirely by people chasing cash and bragging rights. And right when it already looks like MegaUpload has conquered the world, Kim Dotcom unleashes its evolution, Megavideo. The era of streaming begins. From one day to the next, people stop downloading 25 pieces of Madagascar and simply press play. Megavideo becomes the forbidden Netflix of the late 2000s, except it's faster, simpler, and completely illegal. But of course, it can't be free. Free users can watch exactly 72 minutes per day, just enough to get through 2/3 of any movie, just enough to make you furious when the countdown appears and forces you to buy a premium membership. It's psychological warfare disguised as convenience, and millions fall for it. At its peak, MegaUpload is a planetary force. 50 million daily users, the 13th most visited website on Earth, 4% of the entire global internet traffic flowing through its servers. For scale, at that time it is bigger than Twitter, bigger than Dropbox, and sometimes even bigger than Facebook on bad days. Kim's army of employees manages 1,000 servers, storing 25 million gigabytes of content. Everything from anime episodes to AAA video games passes through the Mega Machine. And Kim doesn't stop. He spawns a family of mega services like some digital hydra, for adult content, MegaPix for images, MegaPay for payments, MegaBackup, MegaBox, and more. It is a full ecosystem designed not to respect copyright, but to bulldoze through it. Money starts flooding in. Ad revenue, premium subscriptions, affiliate payments, hundreds of millions of dollars land in Kim Dotcom's pocket. And Kim spends those millions exactly how you'd expect a man named .com to spend them. He relocates his Hong Kong office into a luxury hotel suite costing $13,000 per night. The place looks nothing like a workspace. It looks like an art installation about excess. But Kim quickly gets bored of skyscrapers and decides he wants something quieter, something greener, something more cinematic. He chooses New Zealand. The immigration rules say you can secure permanent residency by investing $10 million over 3 years. Kim signs a few checks, donates to local groups, and obtains his golden approval. To celebrate his arrival, he pays $500,000 for Auckland's New Year's Eve fireworks and watches the show from a helicopter hovering dangerously close to the explosions. This is not metaphor. He literally parks a helicopter above the sky show because that's what wealthy internet pirates do when they touch down in Middle-earth. He rents the most expensive house in the country, a gigantic estate he renames the Dotcom Mansion. With 2,000 square meters of floor space, 12 bedrooms, multiple swimming pools, helipads, and even an entire room dedicated exclusively to wrapping gifts. Nobody knows why. The mansion requires 20 full-time staff to operate. The garage is filled with 20 luxury cars, each with custom license plates that quietly scream, "I am rich and the law cannot catch me." This period becomes Kim's personal renaissance. He finds a new partner, Mona, a Filipino model he meets in a nightclub, and they have twins together. All his children's names start with K, because branding remains his religion. Kim spends his days playing Call of Duty like a man training for digital war, and ends up becoming the #1 Modern Warfare 3 player in the world, outranking 15 million competitors. He trash talks opponents with lines like, "Don't hate me because I beat you. Respect me because I can teach you." It sounds like the motto of a motivational speaker who stole a server rack. But while Kim is busy fragging teenagers online, a very different battle is brewing in the background. Hollywood has had enough. For years, studios have watched MegaUpload siphon their revenue at record speed. Universal despises him. The Motion Picture Association grows increasingly aggressive. Behind closed doors, they start rallying every lobby group, every lawyer, every government contact they can find. Their message is simple: Kim Dotcom must fall. MegaUpload tries to hide behind the same legal shield used by YouTube, claiming safe harbor protection and insisting they remove illegal content when notified. Technically, that's true. Practically, the system is designed to be a labyrinth. Every time a studio reports a file, MegaUpload disables the link but leaves the file intact. The same movie might exist under 5,000 different URLs, and studios can only report a few thousand links per day due to the limits MegaUpload imposes. Even worse, uploaders move faster than takedowns. It becomes a digital hydra. Cut one link and another grows instantly. Internally, employees casually joke about being pirates. Someone writes, "We have a funny business, we're modern pirates." And another answers, "We're not pirates, we're the pirates' logistics." None of this helps their case later. And then Kim, for reasons known only to his ego, produces a promotional video called the MegaUpload Song, featuring Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Alicia Keys, Snoop Dogg, Serena Williams, Jamie Foxx, will.i.am, and P. Diddy, praising MegaUpload like it's the future of civilization. Every single one of these artists is signed to a label that hates everything Kim stands for, which makes the stunt even more insane. Universal tries to have the video removed from YouTube, MegaUpload sues Universal, YouTube denies Universal's claims about having a secret takedown contract, Universal fumes, Kim celebrates, and Hollywood decides this is war. Not metaphorical war, actual, coordinated, international law enforcement war. The kind where helicopters appear in your backyard at dawn. And that's exactly where the story goes next, because the day 70 armed officers storm the Dotcom mansion like they're raiding a drug cartel is the moment MegaUpload transforms from a website into a geopolitical event. By early 2012, Kim Dotcom is living the kind of life that makes Hollywood villains look underfunded. He has the mansion, the pools, the security cameras, the helipads, the custom cars, the ego, and the global digital empire to justify all of it. But while he enjoys his self-made paradise in New Zealand, the United States is quietly preparing a legal chainsaw with his name carved into the handle. Hollywood's patience doesn't just run out. It detonates. And if Kim has a special talent beyond building empires out of improvised code and chaos, it's pissing off the exact people you should absolutely never piss off. He enrages the titans of Hollywood who move entire governments with a phone call. Executives at Universal Music Group hate him so much they probably have dartboards with his face on them. The Motion Picture Association, representing the 6 biggest studios in America, sees MegaUpload as a digital plague. Warner Brothers lawyers reportedly bring his name up with the same tone biologists use for invasive species. Disney considers him one of the great enemies of the family-friendly kingdom, a pirate king uploading their golden goose for free. Paramount and Fox executives treat him like a man siphoning the lifeblood of their industry. And Sony, whose movie division already suffers from leaks, sees MegaUpload as a giant siphon draining billions from their catalog. One after another, the biggest names in American entertainment place Kim Dotcom directly in their sights. The same people who greenlight Marvel movies, negotiate with Beyoncé, control distribution pipelines, and decide which celebrities get a summer blockbuster. Kim doesn't just annoy them, he becomes the face of everything they believe is destroying their business model. In their minds, movies aren't failing because of bad scripts or endless sequels. They're failing because somewhere, halfway across the world, a giant German-New Zealand man is uploading perfect HD rips of their newest releases under a folder called Mega Movie Pack. Enjoy. For Hollywood, this is no longer digital crime, it is humiliation. Their own stars, signed to their own contracts, are standing in a brightly lit studio chanting MegaUploaded like it's the national anthem of a parallel universe where copyright law has already lost the war. Universal tries to yank the video off YouTube out of pure spite. YouTube refuses. MegaUpload sues them. The studios call emergency meetings. Lawyers start sharpening metaphors. Lobbyists march into Washington like Roman senators demanding tribute. And somewhere in a tall glass office in Los Angeles, an executive points at a long table and says the fateful line. Okay, now we're done playing nice. That is the moment when Hollywood stops treating Kim Dotcom as a nuisance and starts treating him as a target. What Kim doesn't know is that the pressure campaign has escalated far above industry lawyers and corporate lobbying. The FBI is involved, the Department of Justice is involved, even New Zealand's intelligence agency, which is legally forbidden from spying on permanent residents, decides to throw the rulebook into the nearest volcano and begins monitoring Kim Dotcom anyway. The man is being watched on a level normally reserved for terrorists, drug cartels, and maybe a Pokemon Go event gone wrong. Months pass. Files are gathered, legal theories are tested, interagency documents fly across continents, and one morning, the American government formally asks New Zealand, "We need you to hit that house. Hard." The timing is not random. The FBI and MPAA are terrified that Kim has a mythical panic button somewhere in his mansion that could wipe MegaUpload's global servers in seconds. Does such a button exist? Probably not. Does the FBI believe it exists? Absolutely. And that belief is enough to trigger one of the largest police operations New Zealand has ever conducted against a single man, whose greatest confirmed crime at this point is hosting too many copies of Madagascar. On January 20th, 2012, just after dawn, the New Zealand Police Special Tactics Group arrives at the Dotcom mansion, with helicopters, rifles, and enough gear to invade a small island nation. The official statement will later claim they needed 70 armed officers to handle the operation. 70. To arrest one man whose most dangerous weapon so far has been an overclocked modem. The raid looks like a movie trailer. Helicopters hover above the estate. Tactical squads swarm the property. Armed officers sprint across the lawns. Breaching teams smash through doors. The footage, recorded by police and later posted online by Kim himself, looks like someone tried to remake Rainbow Six New Zealand edition. Inside the mansion, Kim wakes up to a level of noise that makes him think he isn't being raided. He thinks he's being robbed. For years, he has feared a violent kidnapping scenario, convinced that one day someone would break into his house and try to kill him for ransom. So when the shouting starts, he doesn't think law enforcement, he thinks gunmen. He slams his fist on a hidden emergency button near his bed that locks down the entire bedroom wing like a bunker. The doors seal, the windows lock, the hallway deadbolts activate. It buys him a few minutes, which was the whole point. Then Kim does something straight out of a comic book. He escapes through a secret passage behind a wardrobe. This is real. He climbs a narrow red staircase that leads to a panic room stocked with food and a shotgun. He locks himself inside and waits. Only once he hears officers breaking down his bedroom door does he understand this isn't a kidnapping. It's the government. Eventually, he steps out, unarmed, and surrenders without resistance. Meanwhile, police comb through every centimeter of the mansion. They find 20 luxury cars, multiple armored vehicles, 8 giant plasma screens worth $150,000 each, and, most importantly according to the official inventory, a life-sized Predator statue. The Predator gets its own line in the seizure documents, which is arguably Kim's most iconic achievement. At the same time, American agents seize MegaUpload servers worldwide. Over 59 of Kim's bank accounts are frozen. More than $100 million evaporate overnight. And the MegaUpload homepage, once filled with download links used by millions every day, is replaced by a giant FBI seizure notice. The internet collectively panics. People who use the site to store family photos and work archives think they've lost their digital lives. Forums erupt, Twitter melts, and hackers respond with war paint on. Within minutes, Anonymous declares cyber retaliation. They launch coordinated DDoS attacks against the FBI, the Department of Justice, Universal Music Group, and the White House. It becomes one of the largest hacktivist actions of the decade, fueled by righteous rage, teenage boredom, and the fact that every pirate on Earth suddenly lost access to their movie folders. Meanwhile, Kim Dotcom sits in a jail cell. His entire empire is gone, and the United States begins working on the next phase, extradition. Arresting him was the warm-up. Getting him onto a plane to America is the boss fight. To succeed, prosecutors need a case that proves MegaUpload wasn't just a neutral file host, but a criminal operation built to encourage copyright infringement. Then comes the technical side. MegaUpload stored only one copy of each uploaded file. Every time a new user uploaded the same movie, the system simply generated a new link pointing to the existing file. If rights holders discovered one link, MegaUpload happily removed it, but thousands remained untouched. If Warner Brothers reported 2,000 links, the system deleted exactly 2,000 links and left the other 3,000 alive. MegaUpload even imposed daily takedown limits on studios, supposedly to manage workflow, which is like telling firefighters they're only allowed to extinguish half the flames today, so the fire doesn't get lonely. On top of that, the data reveals that roughly 90% of the files stored on MegaUpload servers contain copyrighted material. This isn't a few rogue users uploading home movies, this is industrial piracy. And to make things worse, MegaUpload planned to crawl and mirror the entirety of YouTube to host it on Megavideo in real time. That project alone could power 6 seasons of a cybercrime documentary. But here's the twist. While the case against MegaUpload is strong, the case against Kim Dotcom personally is messy. New Zealand's intelligence agency, the GCSB, illegally spied on him before the raid. The law forbids them from surveilling citizens or permanent residents, and Kim was a permanent resident. Worse still, some of the evidence they collected was illegally shared with the FBI. Once this comes to light, the New Zealand Prime Minister publicly apologizes to Kim Dotcom, admits the agency broke the law, and says he is personally disappointed in the intelligence service. It's rare to see a government apologize to a man whose house looks like a Bond villain set, but that's the absurdity of this story. Because of these illegalities, Kim temporarily gets access to some of his frozen funds again. He even returns to the Dotcom mansion under court restrictions. And instead of keeping a low profile while fighting the biggest legal battle of his life, he does the opposite. He launches a new service called Mega, essentially MegaUpload 2.0, but encrypted end-to-end. In the promotional livestream, he stages a fake police raid complete with actors shouting orders, stopping the show, and pretending to rearrest him. It's a troll of mythological proportions, designed to provoke everyone who tried to take him down. But he also faces setbacks. Mega's first domain name, me.ga, gets revoked by Gabon. The government claims they don't want to be associated with internet piracy. But there's a delicious twist buried underneath. Gabon Telecom is owned by Maroc Telecom, and Maroc Telecom is owned by Vivendi, and Vivendi owns Universal Music Group. So indirectly, the same music label Kim mocked by using their artists in the MegaUpload song managed to shut down his new domain. That's corporate revenge with French seasoning. While all this unfolds, Kim becomes obsessed with maintaining his Gamer King status. He plays for 30 hours straight to reclaim the #1 rank on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. He invites 100 players to a 1 vs 1 tournament just to prove he still has it. He loses only to one guy. The match attracts enough curiosity to bring TV coverage, including journalist David Ferrier, the same guy who later makes the documentary Tickled, because apparently the universe likes crossing side quests. At this point, Kim could have quietly fought his extradition and focused on rebuilding his life. Instead, he decides the logical next step is to become a pop star. He pours ridiculous amounts of money into producing a music album, even though he doesn't play any instrument or know anything about music theory. He hires professional producers, rejects all their good ideas, demands trashy Eurotrance, forces engineers to redo tracks dozens of times, and allegedly punishes a sound technician by making him stand on a tennis court while a pro player fires balls at him repeatedly. All of this leads to an album called Good Times, which he aggressively advertises across New Zealand with $100,000 of promotional posters and bus banners. The album flops so hard it should be studied in marketing classes. Kim blames a conspiracy. Everyone else blames the music. But he doesn't stop there. He founds a political party, the Internet Party, with slogans about freedom and digital rights. His household staff, meanwhile, claims he pays them below minimum wage, works them to exhaustion, and treats them miserably. A collaborator says Kim once rammed him with his stomach. Another says he attacked him physically. These contradictions bleed through everything Kim does. Champion of freedom online, tyrant at home. He pours $3.5 million of his own money into his new political movement, the largest political donation in New Zealand's history, and then forgets to pay his own lawyers. They quit one after another. The party runs candidates in the 2014 elections and gets 1.42% of the vote, 0 seats, and the kind of political humiliation you don't need analytics to measure. But Kim remains Kim. When the PlayStation Network is hacked by the Lizard Squad, he negotiates their surrender by offering them 3,000 premium accounts on Mega. He tries to launch MegaUpload 2 with a cryptocurrency called BitCash. He feuds with John McAfee on Twitter. He attacks the United States, praises Julian Assange, dives into conspiracy theories, and, during the pandemic, becomes a full-time COVID skeptic online. Meanwhile, his extradition case drags on forever. Years pass, hearings come and go, Kim live streams parts of his trial. He sues the United States for seizing money in a country he never visited. The United States replies that fugitives don't get refunds. New Zealand courts slowly inch toward a decision. And in 2020, Kim files his final appeal to avoid extradition. He loses. He is still in New Zealand today, awaiting the day he will be flown to America to face up to 20 years behind bars. The process is slow, painfully slow, but the outcome seems inevitable. The United States hasn't forgotten him. In 2023, former MegaUpload executives were still being arrested. The case lives on like a ghost that refuses to fade. In a final twist of irony, the creators of the original video tried to contact Kim for an interview. He follows them on Twitter. They send him a message. He replies with a thumbs up emoji, which looks like a yes. Hours later, he sends a thumbs down emoji, which looks like a no. They never get a real answer, but they do get both of Kim's thumbs, which, considering everything, is probably the most on-brand ending possible. Kim Dotcom's life after the MegaUpload takedown becomes a long, messy, strangely glamorous legal purgatory. The raid is over, the helicopters are gone, the Predator statue has been logged into evidence, but the real war hasn't even started. Because arresting Kim Dotcom is one thing, dragging him onto American soil is another. And unlike most people the US government wants, Kim has money, notoriety, and an endless appetite for chaos. He is not going quietly. The extradition process becomes a slow-motion demolition derby spread across a decade. The US Department of Justice says MegaUpload caused more than $500 million in losses to the entertainment industry. They accuse the company of racketeering, money laundering, and orchestrating global-scale copyright infringement. Kim's defense team counters by pointing out every procedural violation the New Zealand government and the FBI committed in the frenzy to take him down. And there are many. The surveillance scandal alone becomes explosive. And maybe that's the most fitting final image of Kim Dotcom's life in this chapter. A man who once ran one of the most powerful sites on Earth, reduced to communicating through symbols, suspended between approval and denial, between triumph and collapse, between the world he built and the world that's coming for him. The world outside Kim Dotcom's orbit doesn't pause to wait for his verdict. It mutates, it forgets, it upgrades. Hollywood, once obsessed with chasing pirates across the high seas of the early internet, has moved on to newer enemies. Today it fights wars on TikTok, YouTube, Fortnite crossovers, influencer deals, AI-generated content, and streaming platform turf battles. The old studio giants aren't terrified of pirates anymore. They're terrified of each other. Tech companies became the new empires of distribution. Netflix turned into the millennial cable TV replacement. Disney built its own digital fortress. Amazon swallowed licensing rights like snacks. HBO Max became Max because someone in marketing thought vowels were too expensive. Everything became a subscription. Everything became monthly. Everything became content. And ironically, all of this entire streaming revolution, grows out of a truth MegaUpload demonstrated long before Hollywood wanted to hear it. People don't want DVDs, they want access. They don't want ownership, they want convenience. They will pay not to have, but to reach. MegaUpload proved that in 2005. Brutally, illegally, unmistakably. Millions of people clicking millions of links said the same thing. Let me watch what I want, when I want, where I want, and I'll follow you. Hollywood hated Kim Dotcom, but quietly, it took notes. Then something strange happened. For a few years after MegaUpload's fall, piracy dropped. Not because fear won, but because streaming worked. One subscription got you nearly everything you wanted. $10 a month felt fair. The dream was simple. The dream was real. Then, slowly, the dream was dismantled. Studios pulled licenses from each other like jealous siblings grabbing toys. Every company launched its own platform. Prices rose, catalogs shrank, shows disappeared or were deleted for tax write-offs. A single monthly price became 3, then 5, then 10. Subscriptions multiplied until watching a single show felt like paying rent in 5 different neighborhoods. And people remembered something. They remembered the open sea. They remembered the green MegaUpload links glowing on forums. They remembered the speed, the simplicity, the idea that the internet once felt like a place where borders didn't apply. Piracy surged back. Not quietly, not marginally, massively. It became one of the fastest-growing corners of digital culture again. A decade after MegaUpload died, its philosophy returned like an echo. If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. This wasn't just rebellion. It was resignation, a cultural correction to a system that forgot why streaming won in the first place. The same generation that abandoned torrents for Netflix abandoned Netflix for torrents. Not because they wanted to, but because the industry rebuilt the exact conditions that made MegaUpload flourish in the 2000s. So when people speak of MegaUpload today, it isn't with the shock or scandal the FBI once feared. It's nostalgia. A weird, guilty nostalgia, like remembering a discontinued soda that was probably awful but tasted like freedom at the time. MegaUpload feels like the internet back when the internet still felt like a frontier. Chaotic, dangerous, stupid, brilliant, alive. But nostalgia doesn't change anything for Kim Dotcom. He remains in the same suspended reality he's inhabited since 2012. A man technically one signed order away from an American courtroom. A man whose extradition New Zealand has approved but not executed. A man whose life has become a legal loading screen stuck at 99%. Hollywood moved on. The tech giants moved on. The internet reinvented itself 3 times. Piracy died, rose, died, and rose again. But Kim Dotcom's story keeps looping, stuck in a frozen state where the next chapter is always, almost, nearly, someday. A life paused, a verdict pending, a sentence written but not delivered. And until the final appeal is exhausted, until the last procedural thread snaps, until the day someone knocks on his door, not with a helicopter, but with a timetable, Kim Dotcom remains exactly where he has been for more than a decade. Not free, not captured. Not absolved, not condemned. Just waiting, caught in the space between an internet that no longer exists and a justice that hasn't yet arrived.